All right, hey everyone, this is Tony from SOVHORROR.com and welcome to the SOV Horror Podcast. I think this is our fifth one. I can't believe we're going it weekly. And I have a really cool guest today. Today I got my good buddy Jonathon Knight. You might know him from his YouTube series B Movie Madness, as well as his Facebook group B Movie Madness. But before we get into all the fun with Jonathon, I got to throw my plugs in here. So November is right around the corner. By the time you're listening to this, it probably just about is November. And I've beaten these ones to death, but we got Natasha Knight's Boudoir of Blood is coming out. This is a movie co-directed by myself, Jeff Kirkendall, and Ron Ford. It's a really fun movie. It also has contributions by Madeline Deering, Rebecca Reinhardt, Dylan Fawn Harvey, and Joseph Vogley. I mean, a whole bunch of really cool indie filmmakers. So definitely keep your eyes open for Natasha Knight's Boudoir Blood. And then also in November, we have Slumber Party Murder Mania, which is an early flick by Henrik Kuto, probably best known for Babysitter Massacre, among a host of other movies. And this is one of his early films. He made it when he was just a teenager. It's a really fun slasher, and this thing is loaded with bonus features. The bonus features are actually way longer than the movie itself, so it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited about putting this one out. But I wanted to actually go ahead and announce a new title and kind of show off some art for our December. So this is a project I've actually been working on for quite a while now, and we're going to be doing a whole series of these. And this is the first one of the series, and this is the SOV Drive-In. So we have two movies in this set. This one's focusing on the work of Joe Sherlock, as the first three SOV Drive-Ins we'll be doing. So we have Lust of the Vampire Hookers and Crimson Heather, a double dose of cool vampire flicks from Joe Sherlock. And so, yeah, we're really excited. And these are literally drive-in double features. So you got intermission reels, you got, the snack bar breaks, you got trailers, whole bunch of fun stuff. And it's formatted to be just like those old days in the drive-in, except even cooler because we got shot on video movies. So this is the first volume we're doing of these. There's at least three coming out, and the first one will be dropping in December. So that's kind of the title review. I got one more. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm just going to show the artwork and cover the title here for people watching. If you can tell me what movie this is, I will send you a free movie, first person who emails me. So if you can email me and tell me the title of this movie, I will send you a free DVD. So find me at Tony Masiello at Facebook, and I will go ahead and do that. Anyways, enough talking about the label. I'm super excited to talk to my good buddy, Jonathon Knight. Once again, Jonathon Knight is the owner, proprietor, and the main man behind B Movie Madness, a really awesome YouTube review show. And not just because they review our movies. He also reviews a host of other great movies, especially a lot of shot-on-video movies. And if you're not familiar with his stuff, you can actually see some of it on our website, SOVHORROR.com. We have a whole section of his shot on video movie reviews, but he also reviews a lot of other movies. And this guy loves the genre just as much as I do. So I wanted to have a real cool fan on here to join us to just kind of wrap SOV. So welcome, Jonathon Knight. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure being here. It's going to be fun.
So I know you're a huge SOV fan, just like I am, and obviously also just a B movie fan. What kind of attracted you to kind of B and independent movies in general?
Well, it all started probably in the early 90s, mid 90s, when I saw Toxic Avenger on VHS. I was a big fan of Toxic Crusaders. I had no idea the movie was what it was. I found out the hard way, that it was full of nudity and violence, but that's what attracted me to it. And then I saw Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and that really just fueled it. And then I found out what trauma was. And finding out what trauma was what led me to Redneck Zombies.
Right.
Because my video store only had like two trauma movies, and that was Toxic Avenger and Redneck Zombies. And I had no idea what shot on video was. And I discovered through that what shot on video. I remember watching it being like, this doesn't really look like a normal movie. But I was into it completely because it was full of gore and it was just funny as all hell. But then later I, discovered through DVD, because at the time, shot on video, my video stores didn't really have shot on video movies. So I had to find them, through, downloading torrents and all that.
Right.
Stuff like Phantom Brother, which to this day is just ridiculously hard to find.
That was one I remember. I bought that on VHS for like $10. That was one of those ones no one gave a shit about, 15 years ago. And now
it's like $200, $300.
It's ridiculous. And I'll tell you now, I like the movie. It's cheesy fun. It's not that amazing though, and it's definitely not worth $200.
Yeah, when I finally watched it, because I was like, oh my god, this has to be the greatest because it's so hard to find, and it was underwhelming. But yeah. I'd still, if I ever found it in the wild, I would be on it like crazy.
Oh, for sure.
And like a DVD release, if they ever do it, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. That one's definitely on my list. But I have this large list of movies that I'm hoping to eventually, put out, and that one's definitely on my list.
Yeah, that would be perfect for you guys, or for you to release, because that would be just, if you can find anybody. I don't even know if the directors or actors I don't even recognize. Probably did the one movie and that's it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the hardest parts, kind of, with running the label, is actually just tracking down the filmmakers and the producers and the people who actually own the films. Sometimes you actually find the filmmaker, but they don't always own the movie. Sometimes it's owned by a distributor or a producer. So there's always a lot of work going into that kind of thing. But so Trauma was kind of real big for you. Trauma was a real big one for me too. So what are kind of some of your, you obviously said Toxic Avenger. What are some of your favorite Trauma movies?
Class of Nukem High, Trauma's War, not Sergeant Kabuki. I do like Sergeant Kabuki, and it's not one of my favorites though. Terra Firma, Romeo and Juliet, Poltergeist. I like Frostbiter, some of the stuff that they just distributed, like Frostbiter. There's Nothing Out There, which I didn't know for the longest time. I guess Trauma ended up getting the rights to it.
Yeah, that used to be put out by Image. I was kind of shocked to hear that Trauma had it now.
Yeah, I was watching the Blu-ray, and on the back they had already opened with the Trauma logo, or the Trauma intro. I was like, I didn't know they had that. But Dead Dudes in a House, which was one of my most requested Blu-ray titles, simply because the DVD transfer was just terrible.
Oh, is it? I haven't seen the transfer. I love that movie though. It's so great.
Yeah, it's one of those, they released those tins. One was a blood bank and one was like a toxic waste container. And they released that. It was in there with like Evil Clutch and Chillers.
Right.
And Chillers I really like. That's one I really like as well.
Too.
I like Evil Clutch, but transfer is really dark on the DVD, so that's one I would like to see restored one day. But yeah, I like a lot of their their in-house productions. It's pretty hard for me to hate any of them. I'm not particularly fond of Nukem High 2 and 3.
Right.
But all their stuff they put out pretty much from the 80s and 90s, like Rabid Grannies. I absolutely adore them. I would love to see that uncut version that doesn't have Dutch subtitles on the bottom.
Right. I was going to say, I believe there's a foreign version of that's uncut, and that's it.
And when they released it in Blu-ray in the U.S., they cropped the picture to remove the subtitles. Oh. And it's like one of the worst Blu-ray transfers I've ever seen. It was so disappointing because I was so excited. And then they chopped off like 20 minutes in the opening to quicken the pace up.
Wow.
So, like, literally they get to the house and then the
violence
starts. But that's when I would love to. That's a really good one too. But watching it edited, it's like watching like My Bloody Valentine edited. Right. It's just that you just rip all the guts out of it.
Or something.
And that movie is pretty much nothing but blood and cuts, the whole movie. But yeah, Trauma, just pretty much anything they put out between the 80s and 90s, I really like. Of the past probably decade, I can't remember anything that they put out besides their in-house stuff, but like stuff they distributed. But
well, they've definitely put out a lot of cool shot on video movies too. You got the Killer Nerd movies, you got the Flesh Eaters from Outer Space. Gosh, I think there's a few other ones that they also put out. So I've always been a big fan of Trauma myself. They were kind of one of those ones I got into when I was like 12 or 13 years old. They used to do these Trauma marathons on Cinemax, and I would sit there and I think it was like usually they do it for like a weekend or a week or something, and it'd be every night at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. They'd kind of do a block of Trauma movies, and that's how I first discovered Trauma and immediately fell in love. And then in the VHS era, it was like anytime you saw that Toxie logo on a VHS, you're like, I'm buying this. You know, it didn't matter what it was, and
Yeah, it didn't.
and I don't think we even realized back then, you know, as a kid, you know, like, oh, they're not actually making these movies like Zombie Island Massacre or some of those other ones, Girl School Screamers. You're like, you just see the Toxie logo and you go, I'm buying it. And then you watch the movie and you go, oh, this kind of sucked.
I will say those two, though, have amazing trailers.
Oh, for sure. And that's one of the greatest things about Trauma was their advertising and marketing. I mean, say what you will about the movies, you know, the way they were able to market a lot of those films was really, I think, just genius. I mean, and I think that's why Lloyd's still going to this day. I know they're not doing as much as they used to, but, you know, I think it's definitely due to the genius of his marketing. You know, even though I still prefer, you know, some of the previous titles like, you know, Incredible Torture Show to me still sounds better than Bloodsucking Freaks. But,
yeah, it fits the movie better, too.
But he made a lot of money with that title, so, you know.
Like, Bloodsucking Freaks grabs you. It's like, you know, I got to see what this movie's about now. Incredible Torture Show kind of grabbed you, too.
Oh, for sure.
And also, what was the other title? Stardew Master of the Screaming Virgins?
Master of the Screaming Virgins. And then
that's the director's cut title, I think. Because when they released that Blu-ray, they released a director's cut, and it was like one little scene. But they had the original title on it.
Isn't there one too? It's called something reincarnated as Caligula, like Sardu or something like that. It has quite a few different pseudo names.
It's one of those movies, I guess, that they tried whatever they could to get it, sell it. I mean, like Last House on the Left was the same thing. They had like 1 million titles,
right?
And they tried selling it. And it's like, oh well, Last House on the Left. The house isn't really on the left, but it's just a good title.
Oh, great title. I mean, you see how many movies actually ripped off that title as well. I mean, since then, you know, there's been
Last House on Dead End Street. That's the one that I automatically think
on the Edge of the Park, you know, it's kind of similar. And Last House on Dead Street, which is another one. That's a SRS put that one out years ago.
That's the one with the guy gets out of jail, right, and he tortures.
I'll be honest, I don't really remember that one. It's been a while since I watched it. I need to bust that one out again sometime.
I know Vinegar Syndrome, I think, is restoring it. And
oh, wow.
It's taken a long time because I guess it's really in rough shape.
Right.
And the director passed away, I believe. So it's like, and it was originally like a 3-hour movie, something like that. What we saw, the one that they released was like the first scene in the movie is like the middle, I guess.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
I can't remember. It was one of those, when they put it out on DVD, that company Barrel that put out Darkness and Necromantic and all that, that it went out of print, and now it's like a couple $100.
Yeah, I got a copy of that. It was actually given to me by a friend years ago. I wonder if he regrets giving that to me now.
Probably now, yeah. I wish I had it.
I mean, fun if you like people giving fellatio to hoofs of, was it a deer hoof or something?
That's what it was.
So, you know, we were kind of talking about B movies just in general, but so I definitely want to talk about your YouTube show and how you kind of started that. So kind of what was the genesis for you deciding like, hey, I want to review movies?
It's weird. It's just like one day I just like sat down and started talking about, like I did a video about my Trauma collection and Media Blasters, and I would talk about the individual titles and all that. And a really good friend of mine, Michael Church, is the one that was like, you should review movies. I said, all right. And I think I started the YouTube channel in 2014. I can't remember for sure. And I think I started off with just a random movie. I didn't really think about it. I just picked something out. But then I did like Truth or Dare, I think a few episodes later, and it was just, but like, cause I've never been quite comfortable on camera, just being myself. So it's really, really, really hard for me to continue on, but it's just, you know, I just love talking about B movies, you know, with people, especially people who like B movies are usually the really open-minded people, and you can pretty much talk to them about any movie, and they're not going to be like, "Oh God, you like that?" I said,
Right.
I kind of like that, man. I'm sorry, but which I would get like when I go on message boards and all that, I would get like, "You like that movie?" And I'm like,
Right.
"Yeah, I do." And that's when I started doing the trash bag thing or garbage can, and I would just pull movies out, and I stopped doing that because I didn't want people to be offended. You know that
Right.
I'm saying their movie's trash, but I'm not. That's never my intention, but yeah, I just kept, and you know, for a while I stopped. I think there was like 1 year I did maybe one review for like the whole entire year, and I was like, you know, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get back on it. And my friend Michael Church is like, you should really start redoing it again. And I think since 2018, I've been doing like quite a few of them a year. And then when I did Clownado, and then I did Mel Noir after that, that's when it really just started taking off.
Right.
I've been really happy with doing it. It's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I love your reviews. I mean, when we've kind of first met, I just remember we kind of started chatting, and I saw that you did reviews, and I checked a couple of them out, and I thought they were fun. And I was like, hey, I'm going to send this guy, I think it was Metal Noir. Was that the first one I sent you, I think?
Yeah.
And I sent you Metal Noir, and, you know, I could just tell immediately you were kind of a kindred spirit, you know, that you really love these types of movies just like I did. And you judge them fairly as the movies they are. I mean, I know a lot of people watch low budget and especially no budget SOV stuff and want to sit there and kind of pick them apart, you know, pick apart continuity errors, pick apart acting, and really kind of be super critical with the review style, where I didn't see that with you. You seem to be more actually, you know, just generally you understand obviously the limitations of these types of films, and you judge them on the merits of what they actually are, opposed to some unrealistic Hollywood type standards, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what the comment I got from, I believe, somebody that worked on Clownado, that I said that in the review, that, you know, I understood this was a low budget movie and there was going to be limitations, and I accepted that, and that they really appreciate that. And I didn't even really think about it at the time that I even said it. And then that's why it's true. I just judge the movies, you know, if they're entertaining. The worst thing a movie can be is boring.
Oh yeah.
Like if a movie bores me, then it's, you know, and there's a lot of Hollywood movies out there that just bore the hell out of me. But none of the stuff, for example, none of the stuff that you've sent me and all that, it's never bored me. It's always kept me entertained or interested. And shot on video stuff in general, I'm rarely bored by an SOV. There's been one or two, but there's a few of them that, you know, most of them are pretty entertaining.
Right. I agree. I mean, there's some to me that I just, you know, I'd never like to kind of put down movies, so I try not to really say negatives about certain films, but I'm just going to go ahead and mention this filmmaker because whatever, he hates me anyway. And that'd be like the work of like Nick Millard, for instance. I like some of his early films, but some of his shot on video stuff, like the Deaf Nurse movies, I mean, I just could never get into those movies. I feel like they're kind of cash-in type movies, you know.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning them, I think, in your Blood Lake review. You did a written one for your website.
Okay.
And I've never seen them. I've only seen like Satan's Black Wedding. He did that one, right?
Yeah, that's one.
And I've seen Crazy Fat Ethel. I've never seen his shot on video stuff. It's just never come across it. I do like those two movies. But yeah, I just haven't came. Like Death Nurse movies just look like they're takeoff of Crazy Fat Ethel.
Yeah, it's the same actress, Priscilla Aldrin. Yeah, she's in them, and it's kind of similar. I mean, his mom's actually in them as well, and his wife, and you know, it's kind of like a whole family affair. But they're just really boring, and they like to use stock footage from Crazy Fat Ethel. Like he tends to just want to reuse that footage over and over again. And
didn't he do that with the second movie?
I believe so. Yeah.
Like he Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 did.
I think he didn't.
I know
I think he didn't use the credits from part 1 for part 2, if I remember correctly.
it's an extra on the double feature I got, and I've never watched it because I heard it was just basically just the first movie with some
Right.
shot and video
Uh-huh.
stuff around it. But the only one, like, there was one movie I really want to rewatch, a movie called Alien Beasts that I really tried to get into.
Oh.
And like I tried. There was a different. I guess he's done like a million cuts of the movie because on the Massacre video thing, it was Mutant Massacre 2, and it basically I think it was just a free cut of Alien Beasts.
Right.
But I couldn't get into Alien Beasts. I really tried.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. I tried with that one too. That's like master shot theater.
That's the only one. I have a wall of shot and video stuff. That one I don't put up there because I just have no desire to rewatch it.
Right.
Now, I tried.
You know, that brings up a great question though, because I find myself, like, for instance, you know, and I'm guessing I think we're about the same age. And like when I was younger, I'd watch certain movies, like say a movie like Offerings. And the first time I saw Offerings, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was such a piece of crap. And now years later, it's one of my favorite freaking movies. I'm actually excited. I'm going to watch it this weekend with the wife and make her watch it again. And she doesn't like it, but I love it. And so that kind of brings me to, you know, have you found that there's been movies that you really didn't like kind of the first time around, but on rewatches that you're like, hey, actually, I really, really like this movie a lot?
Yes, and it's one of your favorites, Black Devil Doll from Hell.
Oh, wow.
First time I watched it, I was kind of like, okay. And then, like, I think my Massacre video put it out on DVD. I bought it, and I was like, you know something, this is actually really, really freaking entertaining.
Right.
And different, you know. And I was like that with a couple shot on video movies. Not Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer, I've always loved that one. I'm trying to think of the one that I really just absolutely hated that is just I rewatched. I think maybe Blood Lake, which is really funny because now Blood Lake is one of my favorite movies in general of all time.
Sure.
I fell in love with that movie over time, and it didn't help that the VHS transfer I had was really dark.
Sure.
And then I watched the movie. Then I read the interview that was done for Analog Nightmares, and I listened to the commentary track, and I just learned to really appreciate that movie.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
And Tim Boggs, I mean, what's funny is, me and Richard Mogg actually interviewed Tim Boggs around the same exact time. And I think it was 2011 when he did that interview with Tim Boggs for Analog Nightmares that kind of influenced him to make the book. And I did my video interview that same year. And Tim Boggs, I mean, I've interviewed quite a few directors over the years, but that guy is like the biggest motivational speaker. Like, I would pay that guy to be a motivational speaker. He's such an amazing guy and such an amazing career. I mean, he's now a big sound man in Hollywood and works on tons of big TV shows and stuff like that. And just amazing guy, you know. And that's what's kind of interesting to me about a lot of these movies is not just the movies themselves, but the people who make these movies and their stories and what they have done. And that's kind of what this podcast is kind of about, as well as, you know, with the SOV horror label, why we're so like really gung-ho about extras. You know, it's like, I feel like that's very important and that fans want to kind of hear those stories, you know, because I know for me, extremely inspirational, a lot of these, especially these shot on video and B movies, were for me to, you know, get a job in the film industry.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, commentary tracks have always been a huge part of like extras for me. When I first went DVD, I was like, that's the thing I was really excited about is a commentary track. And I just love commentary tracks for like the trauma ones, like by Lloyd. I can hear Lloyd talk probably for hours about any movie. Because he's really, and then, you know, stuff like Tim Boggs is the commentary for Blood Lake. I was upset there was only an hour and 21-minute movie because I could hear him talk probably for hours about that movie, because you can tell that he had a million stories and it's just, you know,
we shot for 8 hours with Tim Boggs.
Oh my God.
We shot for 8 hours. There's a reason I haven't got that interview out yet, is because it's a very long interview, and to me it's all gold, you know. But I know most people aren't going to want to sit through 8 hours of, you know, the making of Blood Lake.
Oh man, I would. I'm telling you, I would.
I'll keep that in mind.
the one thing is, has anyone ever found Little Tony?
So I've heard some rumors about Little Tony. I don't know how true they are, but I've talked to Tim as well as Andrea Adams, who worked on that film as well. And last I heard, Little Tony was not in a good spot in his life. I don't really want to say what I heard because I don't know how true it is, and
Understandable.
but I hope he's doing well. Obviously, he's a standout character in the film. I think anyone who watches the movie, ends up leaving going, I got my beer, I got my sex partner, what else do I need? Or give me a beer, you butthead. All those great lines that he has in that movie, it's so memorable.
Yeah, I have a friend who never seen a shot on video movie before, and he absolutely loved that movie just because of Little Tony.
Right.
He just loved it. He was like, that's like the best character of any slasher movie of all time. Just, I agree. Every movie needs Little Tony.
We did a cheesy song, me and my wife, all about Little Tony.
It's hard not to sing or talk about him. He's that memorable.
Mm-hmm. For sure, yeah. So, I mean, and just in SOV movies in general. Actually, I want to go back because you were talking about commentary tracks, and I'd love to just hear your opinion of some of it. Do you have like any favorite commentary tracks? You kind of mentioned the commentaries by Lloyd Kaufman. Are there any other commentary tracks that you just really love?
The one for Chud, which is this Daniel Stern just like talking shit about the movie for probably like an hour and 36 minutes. Because I guess originally the creatures weren't supposed to look like the way they were. They were just supposed to be like infected homeless people. Right. And the whole commentary is like fucking rubber monsters, fucking rubber monsters in the movie. And it's like it's great commentary. But like anything Evil Dead 2, that one's pretty. I like that one a lot. Pretty much any of the Evil Dead. Maybe not Army of Darkness. I can't remember the commentary track for that, but Evil Dead 2 definitely, and Evil Dead 1. But yeah, the Chud one, there was it's not a horror movie, but it's one for the movie Speed, simply because it's them talking shit about Speed 2. The whole movie, because the writer didn't write it. It was the writer and the producer, so it was just them talking shit. and I usually don't like when they're talking shit and everything, but it's just really funny. But I like the ones that like John Carpenter's commentary track, especially for They Live with Roddy Piper.
Right.
And Prince of Darkness. I don't know. He did the one with Peter Jason, I guess, for that one. Oh, and the ones he does with Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Big Trouble in Little China commentary track is hilarious. Mm-hmm. But those ones, yeah, and definitely anything low budget wise. I really like the stuff like Lloyd does. But I'm trying to think what my favorite one by him is. I think the Toxic Avenger Part 2 one is hilarious, just because he's talking about how they accidentally released the rated cut on DVD first.
Right.
And Michael Hurst wouldn't let him, delay production. And he's just apologizing the entire time about, I'm sorry about we released the rated cut. And if people have never seen the rated cut Toxic Avenger Part 2, it is just nothing. It's PG. As PG as a trauma movie can be. Uh-huh. But yeah, any of those commentary tracks, them are really just...
Have you heard
the SOV stuff too?
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you heard the commentary for Jacko?
Oh my God!
That's
shit pickle. And I wasn't sure if he was being like he was seriously pissed or not.
I think he was because I remember at the time I was on. Owen Ray used to have this forum, the Retro Media Forums, which I was on back then. And I remember, I think this was around the time they were making that DVD. I think they definitely had a riff after that for a little bit. It's nice to know, though, they're friends again and everything's cool, But I still wonder kind of what Steve Latshaw thinks of that commentary being released, He was obviously pretty upset at the time.
It made for quite entertaining. It really took me by surprise when he started talking, like, I guess the reviews for the movie, they call it a shit pickle.
Right.
Which I love Jacko, so I mean, like, I will admit right now, Jacko is not a great movie, but it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I was actually the one who, I worked for Riff Tracks. I was the one who recommended that Riff Tracks does it, and we just did a live show of it.
Well, yeah, it just came out, but it just came out, didn't it?
Yeah, it was in theaters, like, I think it was earlier last week or something. I didn't get a chance to see it. I'm too paranoid about the virus to go out, so I didn't see it. But
I don't have the only movie theater I have is Regal, and they're all closed. So
right, yeah,
I would love to actually watch that on the big screen. I know somebody on Facebook took a picture of the movie ticket, so I know somebody that went and saw it.
nice. I can imagine, seeing Jacko on the big screen has got to be, just really cool.
It's pretty surreal because I'm so used to I would be so used to it because I'm watching it on video. Because I rented it because, man, it was just an incredible cover.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great cover art, yeah.
And it was the first pumpkin-headed killer.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, even though I love Pumpkinhead, I was like, he doesn't have a pumpkin as a head.
Right.
And then Jacko actually finally delivered that.
Right.
So thank you for Owen Ray.
Uh-huh.
And that was shot here in Florida, too.
Yeah.
I remember they talked about, they were on some talk show. Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the big ones at the time. They were going to do a making of thing on there, and I guess something else happened. I can't remember. But, yeah, it was shot not too far from here, I don't think.
Oh, nice. Because, yeah, you're in Florida. What kind of part of Florida are you in?
I'm in Lake Wales, Florida, which is near Tampa.
Okay.
About an hour from Orlando.
Nice.
It's a little nothing town that people just pass through.
Right. Cool. So what are some of your kind of favorite SOV movies?
Definitely, like the number one is definitely Redneck Zombies. Like, the Zombies, I just love that movie. But number two, a super close second would be Video Violence. I still think Video Violence has the best story for a shot on video movie. I just think it's a genius story, and especially for the time when the movie came out, when everybody was renting everything, and I think it's just perfect. But like Blood Lake, Cannibal Campout, Splatter Farm, Splatter, the Architects of Fear, which for the longest time I thought Redneck Zombies was the only shot on video movie I saw, but I remember going to a flea market and I bought a box of tapes, and that was in there, and I had no idea what it was about. And for the people who have never seen Splatter, Architects of Fear, it's like a fake documentary, and I thought the movie maybe was real, like they're just doing the thing. I didn't really use the internet at times. I was like, it may be a real movie. I looked it up and it wasn't a real movie, but it's an entertaining movie though.
You'd want to see the movie for sure. I mean,
yeah. And I like
it's a fake making of a movie, kind of behind the scenes and how they do special effects and stuff. But the movie doesn't really exist, so it's a complete kind of farce type movie in a sense. It's a lot of fun though, and what's that character? I think he's called Fang. Is that his name? Yeah, the kind of host,
mascot of Splatter Films, I think it's called.
Yeah,
making the I can't remember what the movie within the movie is called.
I don't either. Some like post
mutant Amazons and mutants versus mutants movie, but yeah, that one. I think that's the only movie, a shot on video movie that's like that. I can't remember anyone else doing that, which, that's pretty cool. But I also like Mad Ron's Previews from Hell, which is part shot on video, part movie thing. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of fun. That's probably my favorite trailer compilation. I just think that one's so much fun.
Have you seen Terror on Tape? It's actually very similar.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
Yeah, that one's really cool. It's got Cameron Mitchell in there, as well as a great, nice cameo by Michelle Bauer. Yeah, I highly recommend that. And that's another kind of similar to Mad Ron, where it's kind of clips from horror movies. But, it's all hosted by Cameron Mitchell in this video store. And
I have seen it.
It's shot on video, and it's really fun. I definitely recommend you check that one out if you can find it.
I've seen it like on a lot of the VHS groups. I didn't know it. I thought it was just, I can't remember what, I would always get it confused with Terror Eyes.
Oh, Terror Eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, I always get it because I see those always kind of lumped together.
Right.
But yeah, well, like Wood Chipper Massacre, that was one I didn't like originally because my expectations was Cannibal Campout.
Right.
And I was like, that movie was so gory and over the top, and Wood Chipper Massacre is just like a sitcom. Right. But that's when it ended up, its charm ended up, it charmed me over very quickly. It's one of my favorites now. But yeah, there's so many. Sledgehammer, Sledgehammer. I love David A. Pryor. I think that was the first one. I think I saw that one first. Then I saw Deadly Prey, which is probably the one he's probably most known for.
Right.
But yeah, Sledgehammer, Boarding House. Boarding House I didn't see till much later, and that's weird because it's like the first.
Granddaddy, so to speak.
But in the one we talked about before, The Ripper, I absolutely love The Ripper. I think that's a really actually cool story for that movie too. The idea of someone putting on a ring and becoming Jack the Ripper. And I just like the fact that Tom Savini hates it so much that he'll recommend you throw it in the trash.
Right.
I'd be afraid for him to sign my poster. You'd probably. But yeah. But I also like Blood Cult is pretty, it's awesome as well. But there's so many.
Ripper's funny because that one gets a really bad rap because of, I think a lot of us when we rented it, we saw Tom Savini on the cover and we're like, oh, Tom Savini stars in this horror movie, and it was kind of the first time he'd really starred in something like that. And then you watch the movie and he's barely in it. But I mean, it's a pretty solid flick. I mean, I've always actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a little long in the tooth, but they probably could have cut 10 minutes out of it to make it a little tighter paced. But overall, it's a pretty fun movie, and it doesn't bother me that he's not in it that much, honestly.
Yeah, I really didn't even think about it when I first watched the movie. I was just being entertained by the story, and then the gore is incredible.
Oh, the gore's great.
Oh, yeah, oh my God. And then, he pops up, and then I'm like, oh, there he is, cool.
And you got Andrea Adams from Blood Lake in there as well.
Oh, yeah, she gets brutally murdered.
Yeah. And that's the cover of Analog Nightmares, Richard Mogg's book, yeah.
It sure is.
Uh-huh.
And she gets killed in The Revenge as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's the reporter in the beginning of Revenge, yeah.
She really knows how to get killed in the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's a company not a lot of people talk about very much, is, United Home Video and VCI. And when they first started it out, Robert Blair and all those movies he was producing, I mean, he was one of the first producers to put, large sums of money into making shot-on-video movies. As much as people think Blood Cult is maybe a piece of shit. I know some people feel that way. I don't. But, they spent quite a bit of money making that movie. It wasn't a cheap fly-by-night production. They actually invested real money into making that movie.
Yeah, those were actually professional film productions, really, or professional productions compared to something like like Blood Lake or something. They were actually put a lot of,
or some of those.
And I saw Revenge as a kid on VHS. I had no idea it was a sequel.
Right.
But I remember liking it, and then when I watched Blood Call, I was like, these people look familiar, some of them. And John Carradine's in it, and I always like seeing him in anything.
Oh, for sure.
But
well, I mean, Blood Cult, that poster was just, with the meat cleaver was just so iconic. And then it had on the cover, the first movie made for the home video market might just scare you to death, I think was the tagline. And I remember that was just so iconic looking to me as a kid in the video store. And it was one of those ones, I kept wanting to rent that, and it wasn't in half the time. And then I finally rented it and was like, what the hell is this movie? I love it now, though. I mean, Caninus, the dog god that they worship, and so much fun.
It really is. But I'm going to be honest, I actually slightly prefer Church of the Damned.
Church of the Damned, yeah, and that's kind of like the Polonia's kind of remake kind of that movie. And talk about another great SOV. I mean, I know it's kind of slightly unfinished, but the release that SRS did of that, which was the first real release of it, I mean, you just go, how the hell was this made by 13-year-olds? You know what I mean? It's so ambitious, and the effects are great. The acting's pretty good for their ages. And it showed how much talent, the Polonias had at such a young age.
Oh yeah. I mean, when first I heard of it was through your, doing when you did it for SOV and Beers. Okay. Never heard of it before. I don't think it was even in Analog Nightmares.
It may not.
Yeah, it was. I know that, and like, what's the other one they did that was unfinished? Nightmare Weekend.
Yeah, Nightmare Weekend. There's a few of them. Channel 13.
Yeah, and I have what's the one? Death Reel,
Death Reel, yep.
which I still haven't watched yet. But like when I watched Church of the Dam, I was blown away by it. I was like, this is actually far better than anything I could ever make at that age.
Right.
And they're really just passionate and like big stunts and all that gore and all that. It works. It's just I like it a little bit more in Blood Cult, even though I love both.
Right. Well, Blood Cult, your protagonist is an old guy. And in, Church of the Damned, you got some young kids playing old guys, but they do have mustaches. So the trademark Polonia mustaches are intact.
Yeah.
No, it's so much fun. Yeah. So another thing, obviously, and not everyone maybe knows this, but you have pretty much reviewed every movie by SOVHORROR.com. And people ask me for screeners all the time, and I don't send people screeners for the most part. You're kind of one of the only people I send them to, and it is really because I feel you're a real fan of the genre. I know you're going to review the movie, and whether you like it or not, you're going to be honest with your review, which is what I look for. I mean, I get, movies are subjective, and you're not going to like everything I like, and vice versa, but early on when we first started, when we first put out Metal Noir, I had a lot of requests for screeners, and I probably sent out like 20 DVDs to people. We were still new. And I think you were like the only guy to actually review the movie, and which was very discouraging, and hence why I don't really send screeners to many people anymore. But so obviously you've seen like every SOV horror release, and obviously I'm a huge fan of all these, but I want to know, what are your top SOVHorror.com releases? Like, what would you say are your personal favorites that we've put out?
Well, the first we ever did, or I ever reviewed, Mel Nora, that one I always loved that one because it was the first one, and it kind of opened the door, and I was like, oh. But Zombrel's House of Horrors, I absolutely adore. I just rewatched it this morning, and I just love that movie. I like the Lump the Warlock home video titles all in one because they're all special to me.
Right.
If I had to pick one, I hate to sound biased, but Death of Lantern, but Stoinky Beach, though, I would put as a close second because I feel that one is underappreciated. Let me see. I got them over here.
You're on the Death of Lantern disc for people who don't know that. You can see a really cool segment with you on that.
And Spirit Gallery, which I think you said if that movie was shot on film, it would be like a cult classic. Sure. And I think that movie is one of the best made SOVs I've ever seen. It's just amazing. Mr. Ice Cream Man. I was actually blown away by that one because I really didn't have much, I only knew a little bit about it. And I got to thank God I did not read the back of the VHS box because it spoiled the shit out of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And when I read that after I watched the movie, I was like, what is going on here? Who wrote this? They just wrote the ending of the movie. Yeah. So now I was like, no, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be Dead Alive or whatever.
It's like this Camp 3 VHS literally told you the entire movie of that as well, up to the very ending with Angela killing the paramedics. It like literally that's in the VHS synopsis. And I remember reading that before I saw the movie as well, and then watching the movie and go, they told you the whole movie in the synopsis. Like, what the hell?
They didn't have much faith in it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh man, what's the I was thinking of the one that I just realized. Blood Orgy of the Leather Girls was a lot of fun as well. But a little biased still, but I really, really, really enjoyed Natasha Nike's Pouvoir of Blood. I have not reviewed it yet, but it because I still have to, I'm gonna rewatch it and do all the extras and everything. But I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
It was kind of, when it got to the point at the end where I thought maybe I was going to appear in it, I kind of turned my head a little bit. But I did, it was really, that one's a lot of fun, but definitely my favorites are Zombrella's House of Horrors, Death of Lantern, Spirit Gallery. Those three right there. Like when people ask me, they recommend, or when they ask me which ones I would recommend, I always say those ones.
Right.
Especially because anthology films are always like fun to watch because you get whole bunch of little mini movies.
For sure, yeah. And you did a great turn in Natasha 90. I mean, I was actually so impressed. I needed a few more segments for the movie, and someone had actually Mr. Parker, Dave Parker, recommended you to me. He's like, why don't you ask Jonathon Knight? And I didn't even think to ask you, honestly. And I knew you from online. And I mean, for anyone who's not in the B Movie Madness Facebook group, I'm telling you right now to go to the B Movie Madness Facebook group, join the group. You'll tell what kind of group it is by the questions. And, and you can see Jonathon's sense of humor right in the questions to join the group. But, you're just always so funny and very, you have a lot of fun with the movies and stuff like that. And so I asked you to do it, and literally it was like 5 minutes later, you send me a video, and I'm just like, there's no way. He just sent me something. It's like 5 minutes, and I watched it, and I wanted to pee my pants. I thought it was so hilarious. And, so I definitely want to give you kudos and let you know that I was more than happy, to have that in the film. I think it's really funny, and I hope, I think people are really going to enjoy your role in there. You and Duke, because Duke's in there too.
Talking about you. But yeah, it was funny when you asked me. I automatically, I think I said yes, and then after we stopped talking, I was like, "What am I gonna say?" And then I thought about the group questions, and I was like, "Okay, it kind of wrote itself right there." And it's funny is one thing I got to give huge props for everybody is each Datamate ad is different from each other.
Yeah.
I was watching them. I'm like, man, none of them feel like repeats. Mr. Parka's was, fantastic. I'm not just saying that because he recommended me, but his is really funny. All of them are great, and Eugene just hilarious. They're all. Yeah, I think the ads were just all brilliant. Like that's one thing I'll say. I think the ads were better in that movie than Zombarella's, and I love the ads in Zombarella. Right. So that says a lot.
But yeah, we kind of try to learn from the first movie. The first movie. Originally it was meant as a way just to release 20 years of my filmmaking output, along with Tim Ritter being kind enough to contribute a ton of stuff as well, which was super cool. But I felt I kind of learned from that one how I wanted to frame the sequel a little more. And obviously we did the anthology is a little different than the Zombarella movie. It's not as gruesome or violent, but I thought we made up for that a little bit with upping the ante on the sex in the 1-900 ads and whatnot. And I felt we nailed the commercials a lot better. And that's definitely thanks to all the great contributors. Most of those ads, like the Datamates, for example, those were all written by the actors and people who shot them themselves. I wrote some of those for some people, but for the most part, almost all of those were written by the people who contributed. And I think that's really what helped that movie come out as good as it did.
Yeah, you can tell watching it. It really does feel. It feels like it feels a little bit. I think it's the same length almost as Zombarella's, but it does feel a little bit paced better maybe.
Right.
And I really like Zombarella, so this is not me criticizing. I just if it really does feel like it, like you said, you learned from what you did from the other movie, and you kind of, I guess, learn from your mistakes. Yep. Although I don't think you made a lot of mistakes in the first one, but because thanks to you, I can't eat kielbasa ever again.
Yeah, there's a real funny story about that. So for people who aren't aware, he's referring to there's a group of trailers in the Zombarella movie called Cannibal Vampire Cargo Hookers from Outer Space, and there's 3 of them, and pretty much the whole series is based off of one gag, which is a woman giving oral sex to a kielbasa and biting it, and it's supposed to be a penis, and a real cheap effect, But what's funny, Jonathon, I don't know if I mentioned in the commentary, but so I had shot that first Cannibal Hookers. It was we were actually supposed to shoot a scene for another movie I was working on, and an actor bailed, and so I kind of came up with this idea real fast. We were already set up to do the dick biting, so we knew that was going to be the main effect in this. And so when I was done with all this, I sent it to this producer who was a local producer here in San Diego, who had just made a movie. Actually, I might as well name the movie, a movie called Slaughter Disc. I don't know if anyone remembers this. It was one of the first movies that at least capitalized on that it was an adult film, but also a horror movie. So it was a horror movie with hardcore sex scenes. And I'd sent this guy my trailer, and he was like, wow, this is great. I absolutely love it, and the dick biting is so great. How'd you do that? And I mentioned, the minute I told him it was a kielbasa, he quit returning my emails. So I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, oh gosh, I guess he thought that was real. And I know the lighting maybe made it look a little real in that first one, but in the sequel.
It did. I'll be honest with you. I thought when I first watched it, but I didn't even think it was kielbasa at all.
Right.
I thought it was real or really just a really brilliant effect.
It's that grainy high 8 camera, with the really bad red lighting that we did.
Oh yeah, that helps. Yeah, sell it. That's for sure.
And one of the bummers with the Natasha 90s is obviously I did want to do a Cannibal Hookers 4. I debated doing it, but all this kind of happened during, COVID in this current state we're in right now. And to me, it was more important to get the movie out than hold it up to shoot one trailer, because I can't really get my cast and crew together under the current circumstances, unfortunately. But I don't know if I've mentioned it before to people, so maybe this is the first people will be hearing of it. We are planning another sequel. I already have 2 other filmmakers involved who are going to be really cool filmmakers. One of them is a veteran of the SOV scene. The other one is a new group of filmmakers that are I love everything these guys do. So I'm super excited. And the sequel is going to be called Spectra, the Space Babe. So the joke with the series is they always review Tales from the Mausoleum, either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but it's a new host each movie. So we will be having a new host for the next one, and that will be Spectra, the Space Babe, because we got to go to space. You need the space.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh yeah, you got to. Eventually, it was going to go there anyways. You're doing it a little bit earlier, but yeah, that's actually, it's funny that there's going to be a new host each movie because you can't keep talking about Tales from the Mausoleum at all. That's actually pretty funny though. I like that.
Well, that was kind of part of the joke, when we did the sequel Natasha 80, we had kind of parted ways with Zombarella, and so we knew we wanted to do a new host, and we wanted to try to do something different, more in the vein of Up All Night. I mean, that's what I tried to go to with the first one, but I didn't feel I nailed it as much. Where the second one, it was like, no, I want this to be Rhonda Shear. I want it to be pretty much be a stripping version of Rhonda Shear, and I thought Romelli did an absolutely amazing job playing that character. And but yeah, part of the gag is, yes, change the host every movie, because I'm just stupid like that, and that's my dumb sense of humor.
It's funny though. It works, especially and for Natasha 90, I thought that the whole stripping thing was brilliant, because even if the person watching it doesn't like the movie, they're gonna want to keep watching it just to see her get naked. And
right. Well, one of the things with that was, so for the Natasha 90 movie, all those shorts are actually really old shorts. So those were all produced in the late 90s or early 2000s, which was kind of the time period we were kind of going for anyway, which was really cool that it kind of worked out that way, that we were able to get those older shorts. And so, but one of the things those movies were lacking was nudity and not a ton of gore either. And that's why we really, that was kind of part of the thinking behind the stripping horror hostess, was like, hey, we need to ramp up, the nudity factor, because as any big fan of B movies knows, I mean, you pretty much need 3 things. You need blood, boobs, and beasts, and I try to stick to that formula myself when I can,
Yeah, and the stories work, fine without a ton of gore.
Right.
Like Typeface, I forgot today when I was watching it, there was a trailer on Zombarella for it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was actually kind of cool, that you kind of like, the trailer for the next movie. That was pretty cool. And like I didn't know that they were older shorts. I actually thought they were filmed this year or last year.
Oh,
Well, I knew Typeface wasn't because you mentioned it, but I thought maybe The Road and Green Eyed Monster were just shot recently. They just really look authentically old.
no, yeah,
But
those are both kind of older, unreleased shorts. Yeah.
and then The Road, that was had plenty of gore in it.
Yeah.
And I thought the effects for that were actually really good, especially the decapitated head.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
It's really cool working with Ron and Jeff on those. I mean, just like working with Tim on the first one, I mean, I'm a fan first and a filmmaker second, as I like to say. And, just, I never would have thought I'd be making a movie with the guy who made Hollywood Mortuary, you know what I mean? Or the guy who made Truth or Dare. I mean, it's so amazing. And that's why I say, hey, kids out there, if you want to make movies, you want to do this stuff, best piece of advice is, one, don't do it for the money because you're never going to make a dime. But number two is just go out there and do it, man. Just go out there and do it. And it's not easy. You're going to work your ass off. But, if you're true to yourself and true to your vision, hopefully you can get it out there and hopefully people will notice,
Exactly. So, no making excuses. Just grab whatever you have, your cell phone, whatever, and just go out and make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anybody can do it.
So any chance we're going to see you in any other stuff? Have you thought of doing any acting or anything like that? I know Natasha Knight is your first kind of role, but have you ever considered doing any type of acting or anything? Because I feel you're kind of a natural.
I want to. I really want to do something.
Cool.
And there's a few things that I'm in the works that I'm hopefully going to start soon. Projects and all that. Maybe hopefully that will lead to more, acting roles. Because I really did enjoy, even when I was doing my short I did back in the early 2000s, The Retarded Dead, I enjoyed doing that.
Right.
But really didn't do much more after that. But it was just doing the Natasha Knight thing. I just had a lot of fun. So yeah, I would definitely, hopefully, can get a few things off the ground. That way I can, right now in the world we live in, it's kind of hard to go out and get to anywhere. And I don't think there's that many productions going on in Florida anyways, but I don't know.
I know there's a few companies out there still doing stuff. So
yeah, I got to find out, who's doing what. I know there's a lot of action going on in Georgia, but I can't remember. But yeah, hopefully, get a few things started.
Cool. Well, we'd love to have you in Spectra the Space Babe. So I'll definitely hit you up when we kind of get more into that arena. So
that'd be great. That would be a lot of fun.
Cool. So we're kind of getting to the closing moments here. How can people find you? What's really the best way for people to find you as well as your videos?
Go to Facebook, B Movie Madness, or Jonathon Knight, either or. But definitely join B Movie Madness. You can message me anytime, and I'll pretty much answer. YouTube, yeah, B Movie Madness. I think I have the image something, whatever. I don't really use it though. I think I post pictures here and there, but I don't really use that. But mostly, yeah, just Facebook or YouTube. Anyone you can get a hold of me, and I pretty much, I'll answer if I see the message.
Cool. And just to let people out there know, seriously, B Movie Madness is so much fun. It's a great group. I absolutely love it. I try to pop in, when I can, when I have time. And people are always talking about great movies. And what I love about it is it's not just, it's not just horror movies. People love to talk about sex comedies, which is another one of my favorite genres, action movies, all types of movies. So, I mean, it's a really wide, variety of just cool, independent, low budget, and then even sometimes even larger budget movies that just kind of fit in that type of mold. So, I mean, it's definitely a blast. So if you're into these types of movies and, shot on video movies, I presume since you're listening to this, definitely check out B Movie Madness. It's a blast, guys. I really can't recommend it enough. So
it's a lot of fun. Especially because it's grown.
I mean, actually, that's the other question I have to ask you definitely before we sign off here, Jonathan, is you watch so many movies. Like, I'm so jealous of how many, I always see like, oh, he just watched this, and I'm like, damn, man, I want to watch that one. So how many movies would you say you get to watch in a week? I'm just kind of curious.
I'm gonna say recently, it's been 5 movies a day. So,
Wow.
so whatever, 5, a lot. And right now I'm trying to break a record for myself because it's October.
Right.
I'm trying to get to 150.
Oh, wow.
Right now I'm at 107. So I'm getting there.
I think we'll get it.
Yeah. And that's just a great thing. And that's what I wanted to do for October is I wanted to rewatch a lot of your titles. Spirit Animal from Maddie Deering. I really wanted to rewatch that one just to, show people that I appreciate, these movies that I'm adding. Because I don't usually watch new movies when I do my marathon. I try to stick to the stuff that I know for the most part, except for 1 or 2 maybe titles I haven't watched yet. But yeah, I do watch a lot of movies, and sometimes it can be exhausting.
Sure.
trying to keep up, especially right now. It's just probably in November I'll probably take a large break.
Right.
Except for the stuff I have to, I'm going to watch and review, but I'm going to probably take a break.
Right. And another question just kind of hit me. What would you say would be one of your guilty favorite type of movies? So maybe a movie that you maybe don't talk about much, or maybe it's even more of a mainstream film that you just really love and enjoy.
Well, I got the poster behind me, but Batman and Robin. I'm not going to lie. I'm an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan and a Batman fan. And, I went through that period where I saw it in theaters as a kid. I loved it. And then I discovered the internet and found out that everybody in the world hated it. And I felt guilty about liking it because everyone else thought it was a piece of shit. So there was a period where I just hated it. I was like, fuck that movie. And then when I got a little bit older, I rewatched it. I said, something? Fuck everybody. I like this movie. Stuff like that. And like Mannequin 2 on the Move. I just like cheesy like romantic comedy thing like that. I try not to admit to people that I like, and like the Break-In movies. I'm a Cannon fanboy, so it's hard for me to hate Cannon, but I really like Break-In. Break-In 2 especially because it's just, ridiculous. But yeah, I do like, stuff like a lot of the older comic book stuff. I like guilty pleasure is Superman 3. Right. Because it has 2 of my favorite things in it. It has Superman and Richard Pryor in it. Nice. You wouldn't think they would fit together, but yeah. But yeah, Batman and Robin is probably my number 1 guilty pleasure of all time.
Awesome. That's great. That's actually one of my wife's favorite as well. She's actually been hounding me lately to watch that one, so I'll probably be watching that one again soon. I don't really remember that one too great, honestly. I grew up, I saw the first 2 in the theater, and then after that kind of, just kind of checked out of the series. So, but I know I saw that one at some point, so I'll be definitely checking that one out again soon. So I'll give you my review of that after I watch it.
I'll be honest, I like it mainly because of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right. Because he carries that movie. Because he's having the time of his life making that movie, and George Clooney looks like he's just bored.
Right.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman are just having the time of their lives because they're being paid a lot of money.
He always brings it, whatever he's doing. I mean, I know, movies like Junior, for instance, aren't the greatest films, but he always brings it, and he always kind of sells it in his Arnold way. I mean, he was our mayor in California, and I was not a huge fan of everything governor. I wasn't the hugest fan of everything he did politically out here, but it was still pretty damn cool that Arnold Schwarzenegger was our governor. So.
Yeah, my aunt lives in California, and she hated him as governor.
He did a few good things. I'm not going to completely bash the man. He did some good things, but anyways, gosh, yeah, we've been going for a while now, so we're gonna go and kind of cut it off here. But I definitely want to thank you for coming on, and just personally thank you for all your help and support. You've been such a vocal, supporter of SOV horror, and I really appreciate it so much, Jonathan. And as long as we're around, I will continue to send you movies. You're the only guy I do it for, and I will continue to do it whether you like the movies or not. I'm still waiting to release one that you're going to absolutely hate. It's going to happen at some point. I hope not, but I feel it's got to happen at some point. And I want you to know it's okay, Jonathan. I'll still send you movies even if you hate one. So
I won't be mean about it, though. That's the one thing when I don't like a movie, I try not to be mean.
that's one of the things I respect about you. And you don't see that a lot with critics anymore and people who review movies. A lot of people, they're so fast to what I say is do that kind of video game nerd mentality of just calling everything shit and finding different creative ways to say how much things suck. And I personally hate that type of reviewing style. I don't feel it's very fair to the filmmakers or to people watching the reviews, because it's not really giving you an idea of what the film's even about half the time. Half their review is just talking shit. So I really appreciate shows like yours, where you actually care about the movies and you're not going to sit there and bash them. I mean, we try to do the same thing at SOVHORROR.com. I try not to review movies that I don't like. That's kind of just one of my personal rules as well, because people worked hard on that regardless of our own opinions of things, and I know you've probably heard some of these similar stories from other filmmakers. I mean, I know filmmakers have gotten death threats for making movies and just horrible things people have said. And I've had some people say some really bad stuff about my films as well, and people don't realize how much that can hurt people at times, especially.
That's the thing. That's the thing I don't understand is all you guys are trying to do is entertain people for 90 or so minutes. I mean, it doesn't deserve a death threat for just trying to entertain somebody.
I thought it's turn off the fucking movie, man. If you don't like it, if it's that fucking bad, turn off the movie. You don't have to watch it. It's called freedom of choice, folks.
And it's like the people who complain about stuff on TV, just turn the channel.
Yeah, change the channel, folks.
I mean,
Easy.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Anyways, thanks again, Jonathan, for coming on. Is there anything else you want to plug or anything before we kind of sign off here?
Yeah, just one place, a podcast called The Moratorium. You can find them on YouTube and a couple other places. #VivaLaVHS. I did an interview on their podcast. Really nice people. But yeah, I don't really listen to many podcasts. So besides that and SOBs who love SOB. You listen to you guys and them.
You gotta bug Rebecca and tell her we need to come back.
Rebecca, please come back.
Please.
I'm bored. I need something new to watch or listen to, whatever.
Cool.
Do something. I don't know what he had. Just have you guys done Blood Lake yet? Do Blood Lake.
We've not done Blood Lake yet. I'd love
to. There you go.
All right, Rebecca, if you're listening, we got to do Blood Lake next, guys. Maddie, Slade. Anyways, all right. Well, hey, it's been awesome rapping with you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you once again for all your help and support. And we'll keep putting them out as long as fans like you keep wanting to see them. So appreciate it all, my friend, and definitely people follow him. B Movie Madness. It's the greatest. The greatest. I said it. Follow him.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you next time on the SOV Horror Podcast when we're going to have Madeline Deering, my co-host from the SOBs Who Love SOV, and we're going to be talking her movie, The Spirit Animal, which I think Jonathan would agree with me. It's one of the best movies of 2020, if not the best movie of 2020. And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the theaters were still open and they were showing movies every weekend. That would still be my top spot for 2020.
Nice. Yeah, same here. I absolutely love that one. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
So if you
so
guys
much
haven't
fun.
seen that and you want to pick up a copy before next week, definitely hit up Madeline Deering on Facebook and get yourself a copy of that, or look up Spirit Animal Movie to find that. Anyways, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Signing off here. Thanks again, Jonathon. Appreciate it, buddy. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.